Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lunch Break Series. Today is Wednesday. We do this every 2 weeks. My name is Becky Jean Thompson. I'm from Coldwell Banker Realty. Today we have Chris Benny from Sherwood Inspection Services. Yay! So he and I are going to be chit-chatting today about inspections and why you should have one and what happens. So all that good stuff. I hope you guys have your lunch. This break happens every 2 weeks and will continue to do so. So if you haven't checked out my events page, please do so. There's some really good things coming up. So Chris Benny, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's awesome to have you here. I see you every now and again at inspections. So it's good to see you not outside.
Yeah, it's warm. We're warm now.
Or not on a ladder.
Yep.
Yeah, good times. So a common misconception is that an appraisal is an inspection and vice versa. So I just want to lay that out before we get started in our convo today. So an appraisal estimates the market value of a home, and they do that to protect the lender. A home inspection is usually, most times, paid for by the buyer, and it's to protect the buyer from the unknowns, right? Because we see things from a purview that an inspector doesn't. You guys are trained, you take CE classes, you have certain things that you look for and that you can test for, and devices you use that we wouldn't know things unless we had you. So a home inspection goes into great detail from top to bottom of the house. Literally, you guys go from top to bottom. So you're looking at physical condition, the structure, the construction, the mechanicals, right? So like the big things, boiler, hot water heater, those kinds of things. You tell us what items need repair. And then you estimate the remaining useful life of the major systems, the equipment, the structure, those kinds of things. So I just wanted to make sure people had an idea of, this has nothing to do with appraisal. Appraisal was 2 weeks ago. Watch that video. So if you're a seller, Chris, how do they prepare for a home inspection?
Well, I think when you're a seller, there are several things you can help as a home inspector, for a home inspector, and that making sure that there's access to the attic. That's one that we may not think about as a seller, having a home inspector in. But the better access we have, clothes pulled out of the closets and stuff, and making sure there's no personal belongings. We can get a ladder. We don't want to get in that ladder and then all the stuff in the attic for the last 20 years happens to rain down on clothes. We do our very best to put up a sheet to protect the personal belongings of the homeowner. Personally, when I'm in someone who's selling a home every day, I consider that as a common courtesy. I'm a guest in their house, so I try to do my very best to take my time and ensure that I have respect for what they have in their closets. Trying to get into an attic, some things happen, and if those are cleared out, that can be very helpful. Another misconception from the seller's point of view is I'm going to clear the whole house out and put everything that I'm going to move into the garage. Well, that's fantastic, but we're kind of trained to go around the personal belongings of a home. So it's okay to leave things as you left. We see all types of houses. So, if the bathroom's not necessarily super duper clean, it's okay. Believe me, your bathroom's probably just fine. Okay.
Right.
But going back to the garage, we have a very difficult time inspecting the garage because all of the personal belongings in boxes are there. In one case, the garage was so jam-packed that we couldn't even get to the electrical panel that was actually in the garage. Not packing away your house and trying to clear things for the inspector. I would say making sure there's accessibility to areas where we need to get into. So, for example, areas like the electrical panel, we will pull the electrical panel on anything that we feel is safe. So 9 out of 10 of them get pulled. But, there are occasions where it's not really safe, or they're painted shut, or someone's decided to frame and finish the basement, and they've basically finished the panel in the wall. We had a situation where probably wouldn't have taken the panel off. That the panel was above the toilet, and there was standing water in the bathroom, and the panel actually short circuited and grounded to an electrical, to a plumbing pipe. Long story short there, we may not take those off, but in general, understanding that the inspector is going to go through. Big thing is just, don't try to clean a whole house out for the inspector. If we can get access to the attic and access to mechanicals, that would be great. But other than that, another good thing for the seller to do is the little doggies that we have out there. They're fantastic. I love Scouter. He's in dogger heaven.
Animal lover. Yep.
I'm a dogger dad. My wife's a dogger mom. Now I'm a kitty dad. Anyways, I'm a big fan of furry friends. They lick my face at 3 a.m. to eat. But anyways, the little deposits that they tend to do in the backyard, be very kind to your home inspector. And if you could get a little scooper duper and pick those up, that would be definitely something we'd appreciate. Now we walk around the landmines, but it's always a bummer when you forget and you miss one, and then it doesn't smell like lunch. You're like, what's that smell? And anyways, just so you know, from the seller's point of view, we do at Sherwood Inspection Services take our shoes off every time we enter a house. We put on indoor shoes. We ensure that we you hit your first white rug as an inspector, you'll end up doing it every time. But that's something all our inspectors do. So
I have witnessed that, your shoes outside. Yep. So one other thing, in a Cape style house, the dormers are a lot of the times blocked, so you can't see in that area, which is a good view of what is going on for the roof, right? The underside.
Right.
So that's basically the attic to a Cape style house. So that's another spot that you could potentially move things so that we could see.
Yeah, Becky, I don't think the sellers understand that when we can't get access to an area in the house, we're going to call out that the access be open and then a qualified professional come in.
Right.
So that takes additional time and effort from the homeowner to then move the couch or unscrew the panel. And then they have a contractor that has to come in to say it's fine.
Right.
If there's things in the house that are not fine, it's not necessarily a deal breaker. A lot of people will buy homes with some deficiencies. And I think we're a little bit oversensitive when we have the home inspector come out, because it's, oh my gosh, what can he find? If anything, if you find something serious, that's a safety, and the seller should be appreciative that was brought to their attention.
Right.
And so they can get that fixed. And then the new person moving into the house, you'll know that when they move into your old home, that you've built so many memories in, that it's going to be it's going to be a great home for them. And they're going to look back as a great decision of buying your house.
Right. Absolutely. So how do you prepare for a home inspection as a buyer?
Well, that's a great question. So some of the things, you'll get some emails from us when you get scheduled. Understand that most inspectors will get there a half hour early, so don't be surprised. A lot of them, inspectors and all of us, we get there to have we find the zen of the home. The home talks to us. We get to kind of feel the home out as the exterior, and then we usually give a good update. So understanding getting there, you shouldn't be late. Getting there 5-10 minutes early, but understand you may get there and go, oh my God, the inspector was here early. You said it was 1:30. I got here at 1:20. Oh my gosh, am I late? Start freaking out. No, it's okay.
Yep.
Be all right. We're going to guide you through that process. Some people will ask, as I prepare for a home inspection, should I have a list of questions for the home inspector? Yes. Our job is just not to sit down or go through a home and just point everything that's wrong. We're not that type. At least I am not, and our company is not that type. We don't take that approach. We take the approach of education, and we want to teach you about the house. And I had an inspection in Fairfield yesterday, and the buyer apologized to me 3 times on questions. And I listened. This is why you're here. Now, understand, we have a time frame. We need to get through the house. We have another appointment in the afternoon. So spending all day with you at the house could be another appointment when you move in, and then we can come over for a barbecue, and then, hey, we can talk all afternoon about this fantastic home. But understand that asking questions is okay. I would just ask if you hold the question. So if you got a kitchen question, hold it till we get to the kitchen. If you got a roofing question, fantastic to ask right off the bat. Though we may need to look in the attic to have further information on the roof condition. But it's okay to ask questions. And then another question is how many people can I bring to the inspection? I always fall, well, you got the COVID thing, and we're all tired of talking about that, so we won't go there. What I will say is, again, we're a guest in the seller's home. We haven't bought the home yet. We're in stages of going through, and as a good realtor that sold me my house 15 years said, Chris, this is a journey of you from Massachusetts to Florida, and you're in the home inspection, and your plane's about really over New Jersey. So there's a long way to go. So if you do bring your family members there, understand that you're in somebody's house. Don't be banging on the oil tank. Don't be going through drawers or closet. Like, just act as you wish. And the children too, good behavior. We need good behavior. If they bring snacks, make sure they're not eating and all that. All minor stuff. I mean, if something happens, we're going to be there to support you as our client, and we'll help. I mean, God forbid something happens, we got you back. But yeah, those are just some of the things that you can do to prepare for a home inspection. The most important thing, though, is relax and enjoy the experience. A lot of new prospective first-time home buyers get the jitters, and
They do.
there's no reason for that. I actually will ask the client if it's a first-time home buyer, and then go on to congratulate them on their new purchase. Put the landlord out of business. You should have done this a lot sooner than when I bought my first house. I'm sure other people can understand that. So, but yes, it's okay. It's an experience. It's part of the process, and yeah, we want to learn and educate our clients.
Yeah, and that inspection can take, I mean, some of them have taken 3 hours. It depends on the size of the house and the questions and how much there is to go through. So, bringing kids may not be the best idea depending on how old they are. And you're right, I have to bring up the COVID thing, but sorry. Sometimes with the regs, the sellers will say only the buyer that's on the contract, or only the buyers that are on the contract. It happened just earlier this week. Only the buyer could come. So unfortunately, their significant other could not. It was at the seller's request, and we do all we can because we're in their home. We haven't purchased it yet. So we do what we can. We do, live videos for the people that can't be there. If they want to see something, or they're interested in hearing what Chris has to say, or the other inspectors. So there are ways around it, and we're so good at tucking and rolling. I think all of us in this industry at this point, especially with COVID, that, we're good. We got this.
Right.
So average cost and average time it takes, I did say that sometimes, they can be 3 hours.
So average cost really depends on the age of the building, the type of building, square footage, all go into it. A normal home inspection is anywhere from probably $400 to $600. And that may also include termite inspections, radon monitoring to ensure that you don't have any of radon gas in your house, and so on. So it really depends. But your average home inspection is $400 to $600. And while people may think, oh my God, that's a lot of money, there's a lot of education that goes into the home inspector. They not only arrive early, but they're there for sometimes 3+ hours. I did a house up here in Glastonbury, 10,000 square foot house. Yeah, it was the one that I guess Oprah sold to Gayle King back in Glastonbury. But I'll leave it at that. Anybody's Googling like, oh, what could that be? You saw Oprah's thing on the outside by the pool. Anyways, I don't get all giggly with Oprah. I know there's some out there, but it was just a pretty cool story.
Sure.
I had another inspector actually help me out with the mechanicals and the structure, and that inspection took almost 6 hours. So you look at, like, I've had inspections take a solid 3 hours in a 1,000 square foot house, and I've had inspections take an hour and 45 minutes in a 1,000 square foot house. It also depends on how I would call involved the house is. How many doorknobs are loose or missing, or there's a lot to report on. Sometimes the inspector will take additional time for that. So we spend a couple hours on site, and then we spend 1 to 2 hours writing a report. So we're spending anywhere from 5 to 6 hours from start to finish, from scheduling to all the prior work and everything. So when you say that an inspection costs $400 to $600, I feel it's a phenomenal value, and I would never want anybody to not recommend going through the process.
Right.
Even if you're a seasoned vet, like you're an HVAC contractor, you're probably not versed on roofs. So,
You're right. You're absolutely right.
there may be things that you may pick up, and for someone who is always looking to learn, yeah, why wouldn't I want to learn and maybe talk to the inspector? May find out something. Anytime a tech or a tech is actually a plumber, a septic guy, anybody who's actually at the home inspection, are you thinking that because I'm the home inspector, I don't need to talk to them? Oh yeah, I've been here a lot. I love to talk to the technicians there. We had a gas leak happen a couple months ago. Union was bad on the outside of the building. Yeah, I talked to the CNG guys. It's pretty cool. So anyhow, as I get excited and thinking about that kind of stuff, you truly enjoy what you do. You take a lot of passion, and that's kind of a little bit of an overview on how much it costs and how long it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the report that you send out is very involved. You can take notes as the buyer. You can feel free to take notes, if, as Chris is talking to you and educating you, myself as an agent, I'm writing things down because I love pen to paper. It helps to keep me, in sync with what he's talking about. And when the report comes, it's kind of a double check for me. But that report is so detailed, sometimes 40 something pages. The last one might have been 51. But it is detailed, and there's pictures in there, and it's calling out the things that may need attention now, may need attention 5-10 years from now, or just hey, heads up, right?
Right, and our reports can be very comprehensive. I first to talk to the client, I say, listen, I'm your note taker, the person that does all of your work. I do all of I write the report, I take all the pictures, I take all the notes, I put it all together, and I send it to you. So if I could only find myself in high school to do all my homework, I would hire me every single day. So I wouldn't have hired me in high school. All of you may feel the same way.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I do all of the legwork for you. Our reports are broken down into different colors. So when you see a regular black note, which is just in the font color black, that may be informationally based. If we have a blue note in there, it's maintenance. It's a maintenance note. So am I going to get freaked out over all the blue notes? No, you got to mow your lawn when you buy a house.
Right.
You also have to clean the gutters, So there's things you got to do. And then we have upgrades. So if you're buying a house it's built in the 1950s, it may not have special outlets around the sinks that trip if, gosh forbid, you have a wet hand. At 7 years old, I still remember plugging in my nightlight into the bathroom. I'll never forget it. A little orange guy. You won't touch that again. Those upgrades will be also in there, and those are color coded in green. And then we have other notes that are in red, and then some of those red notes will actually put in a summary page in the beginning. It's probably the things you and your realtor are going to discuss more in depth, and a possible negotiation point where you'll need to move forward. So we tend to try to keep those to a minimum. We're not trying to scare people, but we're taking a snapshot of your house, like Becky Jean says, from top to bottom, and we're going to give you everything that we observe and our opinion as a home inspector. And quite frankly, all home inspectors aren't the same. We all follow a certain standard of guidelines stated by the state and the individual state that the house is located in. So there are guidelines in Massachusetts and in Connecticut. They follow a standard of practice, which keeps all our home inspectors from going a little rogue and a little, I'm going to do my own way, like Jimmy the plumber who wants to become a home inspector is now going to fully technically, exhaustively look at the plumbing system and not really look at the roof. So we really keep those guidelines, and we'll state those guidelines at the inspection on what we can and we can't do. Some of them will feel a little unfair. Some of them won't, but understand that all your home inspectors, you're paying them for their professional opinion. Some home inspectors will have an area of expertise in their field, say plumbing, if they were an old plumbing contractor and so on. So you may get a little bit more lemon for the squeeze if you like the plumbing aspect, if you hire Jimmy the plumber home inspector. But generally, we are all trained as what we call a general practitioner. So when you come to us, we're going to tell you when things aren't right. So if you come to us and we have a sore shoulder, we're going to send you to the orthopedic. So when we talk about sending people to qualified professionals, another question comes up is, Chris, why do you tell me to go everywhere else during the home inspection of a professional? Because I don't technically exhaustively going into every component of the house. When things aren't right, we'll notate them, and then we'll have a professional come out and assess them to ensure that it is correct. So that's a little bit up and above the actual report, but I'm a big fan. If you never make it to the inspection, we're going to call you and review it. Anytime. Just had a realtor call me because we had a client out in California, spent 45 minutes on the phone with him the other night going over the report, because we got to keep things in perspective. The reports are written more a little bit of a liability report, right? This is the day we live in. Everything needs to be the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So things can maybe perceived in the report be a little bit stronger than really they are. So I can give a good balance of perspective on that, so that you don't start freaking out if the gutters are filled with debris and possible water intrusion, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Clean the gutters, you're good to go. Okay. So, so that hopefully answers a lot of maybe questions they have.
What else do we have? Real quick, I wanted to talk about like waiving an inspection. So the difference between, so some people, when they put in an offer, they say, will this get me the offer accepted? I want to waive the inspection. As an agent, I wouldn't ever recommend waiving an inspection. Why? Because of what Chris, hopefully he's still on this side as you're watching that. If not, it's this side. What Chris just said, as far as the education goes of the house and sort of covering yourself, if there's something that we can't see. So waiving an inspection, I would never recommend. However, you could always say that you want the inspection done for informational purposes only. That could mean that you are gathering that information for your own, for your own good, to take action later. Or, and if this is a contingency written in your offer and your purchase and sale, saying that while I'm saying this is for informational purposes only, I still hold the option to back out of this contract should I be dissatisfied with the results of the inspection. So I would never waive it, but you can say that it's for informational purposes only, still having that option to back out. What about, and have people ever said to you, Chris, I didn't really want the inspection. I'm going to have the inspection, but, I'm still going forward with whatever you find.
Yeah. I mean, to touch upon a couple of things that you just mentioned. One, you're going to buy a $200,000, $300,000 piece of property. To have someone who has a general idea of systems and components from top to bottom, and it's going to spend a couple hours in your home looking at them, identifying possible concerns from a safety or otherwise perspective. I think a $400, $600 investment is really, and I know people are like, oh, my mortgage rate, and I'm spending this on closing costs, and the septic needs to be gone. Oh my God, it's all this money. But at the end of the day, if you spend it, you're not going to spend it. It's well worth the money. Yeah, there are clients all the time that say, listen, I love it. And they have the rose-colored glasses on. You try to explain to them stuff, and the client will be like, wow, that's not a big deal. Like, okay. Hey, the way I look at it is you really have to understand where you are. So if you're a roofer and the roof is past its life expectancy and it'll need to be replaced, I would say sooner than later, and you're a roofer, then hey, I'm a roofer, man. I'm going to go up there. I'll do the roof myself. No big deal. But if you're a single mom with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, Do you have time to mess with the roof? You may not. And you can look at the home inspection and really base this building on if you feel it's something you can tackle.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I guess a good way of looking at it. And I
Yeah.
would
Different
never,
perspectives.
yeah, and keeping things in perspective.
Yep.
So just like when people have a well and they're like, well, I'm not sure I want to do water labs. I go, so for $385, you don't know what you want to drink. You don't know if the water in the house is good, like it hasn't been contaminated because an animal died in that vicinity area,
Yeah.
and your well got contaminated, which is a real easy fix. They pour bleach down it, they cycle through it, voila, they fix your well. A lot of times they'll come back contaminated on vacant homes where they haven't used it a lot, blah blah blah. Don't you want to know if you have any lead in your water? And lead affects children under the age of 6. It can affect all of us. Sometimes kidney problems for older people, but lead solder was used all the way up into the 80s. So you think lead in the building, why wouldn't you have a first draw of lead to ensure any solder connections? A great example of this was the owner of the company, Dave, shared with us an example that the house was built and they had done plumbing repairs in the 80s. And some of the plumbing repairs were done. The plumber got sick. So the HVAC guy, the boiler guy, says, I can fix the plumbing pipes. And he used solder that was meant for water distribution for for water system that had lead solder in it. You would never know that because the house was dated after that quote unquote time frame. Not to scare anybody that this happens all the time, but
Yeah.
understanding that there are other things in the water. So should you get the full everything? Then it's up to you. But to do your basic radon, which tests for radon gas in your air, it's a 48-hour continuous monitor. For the life cycle of the radon is usually over 30 days, but 48 hours gives you a good snapshot. And basically that's uranium that's decomposing and it gives off a gas, and that can cause lung cancer. So that's something we always recommend. And those remediation systems are very common to be negotiated into a closing deal. Termite inspections. So if you happen to have a house in Longmeadow, East Hartford, Enfield, or any of the houses that are along the river, what happened back in the day is the rivers would flood and all the silt and the sandy soils would go up on the banks and inland. This is way before they had Route 91. So the termites, the little dudes that like to eat your wood, they like sandy soil. And in those areas, they're much more prevalent. So doing a termite inspection, which is it's $80. Why wouldn't you do that? Also covers other wood destroying insects such as carpenter bees. There are carpenter bees. There are these little dudes called carpenter ants. They all come marching in my house, and I say, I'm not going to deal with it. And then in June, they're in my upstairs bathroom again. Anybody who buys my house, they're no big deal. Anyways, I got to call the pest guy, and I got to get them to spray. And then a week or two later, they've gone away. You usually have to do for carpenter ants and carpenter bees. You got to spray on a yearly basis. And powder post beetles, which can be in log piles close to the house. All those eat your wood. And termites can really do some serious damage if you are not aware that they're hanging out. So basic ancillary services that. Other ancillary services that we offer is we do a performance on the well, which is a visual inspection of the well itself, making sure that it's cycling appropriately. Now, we don't pull the well pump up, don't pull all that up. We're visual performance inspection on the well. So if it's cycling or it's making weird noises or it's not able to produce water for an hour, so you can get you or your husband or wife and the 2 kids and breakfast and bathed and showered and out the door in the morning, you run out of water, that may be a little bit of something you may want to know.
Right.
So we do well performance, and also we do water testing. Dave, our owner here, he he can test for asbestos. We have that option here. We can also do thermal imaging, where we can go through the whole house. Our inspectors usually carry a thermal imaging camera on them and to take a quick look at the electrical panel while we're there. Most times it usually gets put in the report, sometimes not. But overall, we have that tool with us. And we have the crumbling foundation situation where several of our inspectors here are certified by the state of Connecticut to be able to do inspections in the local area. And we also have an engineer. So if you don't want our home inspector who's certified through Connecticut, we can actually have Charlie, who is our engineer, who's been an engineer, I don't know, 50 plus years. He does a phenomenal job. Sweet, awesome gentleman. So he can come out and check your foundations, your crumbling foundations. And Connecticut has an indemnity program that can use that document. You just sign a document prior to close. That's all Becky Jean's. I stay in my lane. I let her rock the house on her lane, and so we can definitely can do that. But otherwise we do a lot of inspections. We also do commercial inspections, and we'll come out and pretty much look at anything that you have in your building.
Awesome. Well, I can't see if there's any questions coming in because I'm like on the live and the Zoom, and it doesn't like that. So if there is anything, then I'll make sure that I tag you so that you can help to answer.
I'd be happy to. Yeah.
Anything that comes in, Chris. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover today?
I guess to go back to the home inspection field in general,
Yep.
It's a fairly new industry. It's only started, last 40 years, and you'd be surprised that licensing has only started in Connecticut. I don't know it's Massachusetts, but in Connecticut, they only started licensing inspectors since 2004.
Wow.
So like, wow, really, wow. So the industry is growing, evolving, and a lot of new people, a lot of younger people are getting into the field. So if you have a younger inspector, just because they don't have a lot of gray hair, doesn't mean they're not knowledgeable. They all have to go through an arduous training program. And for a little bit of background, since do we have enough time?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first they would have to go through a school, and we actually have built on to our home office here in South Windsor a training center.
It looks awesome. The pictures look great.
Yeah, and we are now we have several inspectors, including myself, that are instructors for iGo Academy, which is an academy that inspectors go through. It's a 2-week program, 10-hour days, to get their initial education behind them to apply for their license, their intern license. So we do a lot of training. Our company is totally focused on education and informing our client and continuing to develop our inspectors. So that's good. After they go through the school, they have to have a sponsor and then go on at least 100 inspections for them to be eligible to get their license, and also have to pass a national 200 question exam that has to be taken in the PCI room. I'm sure somebody out there knows what the PCI room is. No cameras. Why? No phones. Okay. But we go through that, and then they become licensed, and that doesn't mean they've done learning. So the enthusiastic aspect of the career that I chose to be in was that you're always learning, and that you're always furthering your knowledge, and you have this insatiable appetite for understanding things. And you come across things in houses that may show up every 500 houses, every 1,000 houses. We just had one together where it appeared that the water heater was leaking, but the gas valve doesn't connect into the tank, so it never sat right. Having a huge firm here with all all our inspectors were able to draw on a lot of information, and we came to find out that the water heater probably had maybe possibly a little drafting issue, which is causing some condensation on the exterior. So learning, I never thought of it that way, but made total sense after I spent some time discussing it with Dave. And these are the things that, hey, you learn. And every inspector knows that they're not going to know everything. The one thing about, I can speak for us and our team here, is if we don't know, we will tell you we're not sure. Okay. We'll say, listen, we don't see this often.
Mhm.
And we'll need to take a little bit of research to ensure that what we put in the report is going to be accurate. Found a defective shingle that was installed 2004, 2005 on a house. I'd never seen it. Actually, the tar was bleeding out of the shingle and it was delaminating. I get up there and go, well, this isn't good. but we would take a lot of pictures. We have a lot of resources in the inspection field, a lot of resources, and we're able to identify that could possibly have been a manufacturer defect. But I'm just the home inspector. I know the shingle ain't looking right.
Right.
So what do? I send it to a roofing company to validate, and they may come back and say, no, the shingle's fine, or no, the shingle is defective. And I just know the shingles don't look like that. And what I've read about them probably leads me to believe there may be an issue, but to confirm with the professional. So that's the type of way we go about our job as home inspectors, and it's exciting, fulfilling career.
Yeah, and speaking of the hot water heater, because it was a deal that that I was working on, and Chris was the inspector, and he called me, I think it was before 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and he's like, the hot water heater. So he didn't lose sleep over it, I don't think, but yeah.
Maybe a little. I don't know. I just, we want to be as right as we can be.
Absolutely.
And we know, like every professional, we may not always hit it on a home run. And, I take great pride to know that, hey, if something needs to be further evaluated or a discussion needs to be done, then we're big enough to make the call and say, hey, before you call the water heater guy out there, this is what we believe. You may still want to call him out there, but instead of the report being written as a possible leak, I would like to use this verbiage to share with the plumber. And we write a small addendum, and then you, Becky Jean, can take that and feel much confident that, hey, this is what the inspector saw. This is what he feels that we need to look into, and that tries to make it as easy as possible for the realtor in general.
Yep. And I think it makes the buyer feel better too, right? Because nobody knows everything.
No.
And
once you think you know everything, I think that's when you start losing ground. So.
Yeah. Agreed. Chris, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. Looking forward to seeing you out in the field, and I appreciate you taking the time to enjoy on a little lunch break. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah. All right. You have a great day. And everybody, you have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.